Planeta.
Can you relate to any of Rocio? I mean, there's the personal rejection times in business not being acknowledged, so that's a form of rejection.
Right.
Okay, and then let's see. I think those are the main ones, and how to handle these different types of rejection as you go about your day at work, and then also how it can impact our personal lives. Here on this show, we talk a little bit about how those your personal life and your business life, they tie in together. They're not separate, and we can try to keep them separate. We can try to check your issues at the door when you go into the office or you're working from home, but it just is not the case. It leaks over, right? Whether to your significant other, to the dogs, to the kids, friends, to going reputation with people being solicited to. This was before maybe security was heightened. So you were able to walk into buildings or walk into an office, and I would just kind of creep around the office looking for the copier as I became a little bit more bolder in my but I think initially, the phone slammed down on me. I did have people, oh, we're not interested, or just send me some information, which is clearly a blow off.
So did those bother you? I mean, did the phone calls, being rejected over the phone, do those really, bother people?
Yeah, I think you have to kind of step back. So it depends where you're at in your career path. Then again, I think there are some people that have had to do a little bit of cold calling, even though I'm not an advocate of teaching cold calling anymore. But if you're still having to do it, let's address that. So when I dive back into just being kind of fresh out of school into the workplace, that initial phone call that I made was terrifying.
Right.
Because you not only have to deal with the other person that's listening to you on the other end,
Right.
but everybody else that's sitting around you. And
That's nerve-wracking.
that is nerve-wracking.
I think that's worse for me sometimes than actually, making the call is what is everybody else around me thinking.
Yeah,
right?
or if you have your manager there
Yes.
and they're listening, or your coach listening as you're making these calls, or maybe having to practice
Yeah.
that dialogue with somebody that knows how it should be done, that can be a little nerve-wracking. But you're not necessarily going to be rejected by people that are going to be supporting you, right? So it's the other person that doesn't know you. How do we handle that? And I think my confidence level probably wasn't quite to par where it is definitely now. That affects how you take the rejections. Number one, let's take a look at your confidence. Do you feel comfortable in being able to have your talk track down of what you're going to say to that person, right? I think that's really important. And if you don't have that talk track down clear enough, then your confidence level is going to decrease. Therefore, the rejection that you get from somebody else is probably going to be heightened. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I feel like people can, even through the phone, can sense your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll hear people say, hey, you need to smile and dial. People can hear that through the phone. What's your take on that, Rocio?
Oh my gosh, I used to make calls in front of the mirror. In front of the mirror so I could see myself.
You'd be like, dang, I look good today. Yeah. I don't care what they say. I'm looking good, even though they can't see me.
But that really helped. It helped. I don't know why, but
I know some companies, they have people put a little mirror in front of them as they're making these calls so they can remind themselves of what they're looking like if they have that terrified deer in the headlight, look. I think another thing that can really help is actually standing up. That provides a lot more energy as well. So just checking that you have, you're smiling, that you have your talk track down. And if you don't have that down, we can always help you with that as well. You can always give a call here into the studio and we can answer some of your calls. And what's that number, Rocio?
Sure, it's 773-236-0015.
Yes, and you can always connect with me offline when we're not live on the show. And that's Jennifer at salesfromtheheart.com. Or you can always send me a text or give a call to 847-903-3983. All right. So we might have a caller chime in on this rejection topic today. Again, if you're watching and you have something that you want us to address, please feel free to call in and let us know. Right.
Okay, so I have a question.
Sure.
So now let's say you your confidence level's pretty high, right? And your energy is great and you make that call and you are rejected. somebody it just is nasty. Just from your end, you have no idea why. So they're being nasty for just no good reason.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? What do you do? Because I know that my initial reaction might have been, well, what did I do? Or I definitely would take it personally, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think we should dive into that a little bit further. And I don't want to answer all of that just yet. So
Right,
let's
okay.
hang on to that for a moment. I think we might actually have a caller on the line that might have a question for us as well.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi. What's your name?
Ruthie.
Hi, Ruthie. You have Jennifer and Rocio here.
Hi, Ruthie.
So you've been tuning
Hello.
into the show about rejection. Can you relate? Do you have a question? Do you have a challenge? How can we help you?
Well, I definitely have a lot of questions in regards to handling rejection. I myself work for the telecommunications industry, and I do B2B sales. One of the aspects of my job that generates the revenue, which in turn gets me paid and keeps me from having my job and not losing it, is a little bit of everything that you just spoke of: door knocking, cold calling, having a solid talk track, and really knowing your business. While I do work for a corporation, it is a business within a business, and I need to learn how to manage it and also get myself in touch with the right people and get the right exposure and do things like old school door knocking and cold calling in order to make my numbers. The number of things that I do that really set me up for success in terms of not just making my number, but really creating a brand, which is something that you and Rocio always talk about on your show, and I can appreciate and relate to. One piece of me building my brand that I'm personally having a struggle with is dealing with rejection. There are certain types of rejection. There's, the blow off, the not acknowledging, the send me some information later, the stringing along. The worst kind of rejection for me, I can handle those because the way I look at it is on to the next one, or I'll touch them in a different way, whether through email, text, sending a small gift or reminder to contact me if I believe it's worth my time, right? Because time is money, and I'm not sure whether or not I want to delegate all this energy to one particular person who won't even hear me out.
Exactly.
All
So
I'm
your
looking for
worst
is opportunity.
rejection is what?
The nasty, mean rejection.
Can you give me an
And-
example? What do you mean by that?
Well, I'll give you a great example, actually. Just yesterday, I tend to find mean and nasty rejection when I'm reaching out for networking purposes. I'm new to the game and I'm new to the industry. However, I'm not new to sales. And usually when I reach out to people, I let them know what I do, what my business is, and what my intent or goal is with our conversation. This one person I reached out to the other day was a female, and I'm all about females helping other females, especially in business. I had reached out to her months before when I had first started, and I kind of got the blow-off rejection, but I didn't take it personal. She's very prominent in an industry that would definitely be worth my time and her time to network with, right? And she kind of blew me off. I sent her an email and left it at that. The more my business grew and my clientele grew, the more I realized we are working with the same people. And when I was having a breakfast meeting with some commercial developers, they asked whether or not I had heard of this young lady and had I reached out to her. And in my head, I'm thinking like, yeah, I did. She wasn't very nice, but she wasn't nasty, right? She was just kind of dismissive, which I
Sure.
guess is a form of nasty. But
So
whatever.
what happened when you contacted
Um,
her again?
So when I called her, she was really, really, really mean. And there was no...
Wait, can you describe
There
what
was
do you
really-
mean by mean? What did she say without maybe dropping some?
Before I even said my name out or
Uh-huh.
what was going on, I'm like, hey, it's Ruthie with, X, Y, and Z company. I'm working with some of this. Didn't I tell you not to call me? I don't have time for this. I don't want anything to do with you or partner with you or anything. I refuse to even deal. Why would I want to partner with someone like you? Doesn't know me, has never met me. I was going to tell her that I'm actually sitting next to the people that she's working with, and I know she would never talk to them that way.
And
But
did you
for some
mention those
reason-
names? Did you mention the names of the people that had suggested that you
Well-
get in touch with her, or?
You should have told her you
I
had her on
did,
speaker.
actually. She didn't know. And she didn't let me finish. She didn't let me finish. They were like, call her. She didn't let me finish. And obviously, you know, I was like, you're on speaker. I'm sorry. I was going to tell you that I'm actually sitting with them. And your name came about, which alone is a little, I know it's horrible and I shouldn't be vindictive, but it was a little win in my heart. You know, at least she's exposed for the real person that she is.
So let's pause for a minute just to clarify. So she was not on speaker, but it would have been funny if she was and those people heard. Is that
Or
what
if you
you're
would
saying?
have told her that she was. I would
Yeah.
have said, well, you're on speaker. No.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Well,
come on.
the thing is, they heard. The other partner heard though, because she was that loud and yelling.
Oh.
I mean, she was just beyond nasty.
Right.
They heard.
right.
They know. You know, and I didn't understand, and in a way, yes, it was great. It was a little win for me because maybe I am vindictive myself too in that sense, but it's more than that. Like, I don't want that to be a reflection of how I do business, and I know right now I'm starting, but I know it in my heart of hearts that I will be successful.
Do you
And-
mind, Ruthie, if I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
What about her nastiness was it that made you so upset?
It did. It triggered me because I cried. It was horrible.
But what
Yeah, because
about
I get myself.
was it her
Yeah,
was it
I
her tone
hear
of
ya.
was
I
it
hear
her,
ya.
was it her tone of voice? Was it what she was saying? What was it something that she said or her tone that triggered something within you that made you
Absolutely.
so upset? Would you mind sharing?
Absolutely.
You don't have to share all the specific details, but what did it trigger for you?
No. It triggered, you know, a really negative reaction in terms of remembering something that happened in my past where this one particular person spoke to me with disgust and hate,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it was a very just dehumanizing tone.
Right.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. And I guess it triggered some very painful memories. And I had to remind myself that this isn't that situation, and I have to react appropriately.
So how did you
Well,
react
Ruthie-
to that with her on the phone?
You know, I stayed as calm as I could be. I didn't raise my voice. I stayed as calm as I could have been. You know, I just I stopped her, you know, and I said, you know, I don't know what your problem is with me. I'm not sure why you're being so nasty and rude. And I told her, I'm like, I know at one point you started your business and you were fairly new to the game. And I know you were trying to build your brand and trying to connect with the right people. This wasn't a sales call. This wasn't a solicitation call like the other time that I called you wasn't either. But I know you were trying to build your business at one point, and I don't understand your lack of empathy.
And what did she respond?
She
that.
started screaming. I mean, she was just like, I don't care who you... And I just hung up. Because at that point, you know, she was going to say, I don't care who you're working with or what you're trying to do. Pretty much saying, you're insignificant to me. It was going to be verbally abusive, like the whole tone of the conversation was, and I just didn't want a part of it. So at that point, yeah, I hung up. I don't have to deal with that.
Right.
Right.
So what happened
but-
after what happened after you hung up? How did that affect your day, if at all?
I went to my car and cried.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that,
Yes,
Ruthie,
thank you.
because I know, and I have these conversations with people, and I've been in a situation too where, you know, of course, it does affect you. You know, some people will resort to crying. Some people will say, screw this, I'm going to go grab a drink or a Bloody Mary at the bar during lunch. And then that becomes a pattern over and over again. I've seen, you know, mainly the men do that, but women do that too, right? Or they run off to the casino, to the movies, to shop, to try to temporarily feel a little bit better. And what happens in this environment of sales sometimes, especially in the corporate world, is you have that up and down cycle, right? You hit your numbers one month, and then the next month numbers dip down a little bit, and then we revert back to different coping mechanisms that we think we're coping in trying to temporarily heal that pain. but it's really not getting to the root. And I think you hit it right on, Ruthie, where you said that you remembered something of the past, that it triggered something for you. It was that dehumanizing tone. And how dare this person who doesn't know you do this to you? And here's the other thing that comes along with that is, wow, when somebody else has done something like this to us in the past, and then it was from a loved one or somebody that we know, then that heightens the emotions even more. Can you relate to this, Rocio?
I can relate so much to this. I really can. I know that somebody who I love very much, I grew up being spoken to sometimes in a very quick, loud, sometimes aggressive tone. And as an adult, when somebody, was quick to respond or spoke a little too loud or a little too aggressively, I would either shut down completely and block them out, or I would revert back to my childlike self. And it felt really nasty. And it wasn't until I was able to, like, one day it hit me, and I think maybe we were even having a conversation, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is why I react this way. And you know what ended up happening is that now I'm able to put on this armor of some sort, right? So that the next time somebody speaks to me a little too loudly or too aggressively, I can stop and be like, oh, I am not the child I used to, and I do not deserve to be spoken to like this. And if I am spoken to, I am in,
Yeah, but
I am
here
in control.
you understand the bowing up in different ways. Usually it shows up in our personal lives, and then if we're not addressing it there, then it starts to show up in our business life. And I know personally, I've had my thing, we've talked about it on the show, with dealing with those energy vampires, those extreme narcissists. Nothing that you say or do is going to be valid enough and worthy enough to them. So I learned how to not wait until there's 3 red flags that are showing. Once that one red flag comes up, that's it. Right? And I don't necessarily have to cut these people out of my life 100%. They actually start to fall by the wayside on their own, because I have my boundaries in place, because I know how to handle these types of situations from that peace, yet having that powerful armor, like you said. And that's where I allow, God to fight my battles and not me. So I don't have to constantly be on the defense all the time.
Right. Or even when you do, for me, it was my issues with boundaries. And again, we've talked about this quite a few times on this show. But once I learned how to create boundaries, especially with these people in my life who I can't get rid of because they're, their family or they're really close friends or whatever it is. But they now are the ones that are careful. They are much more careful with the things that they say around me and how they act. I don't have to change anymore who I am or what I say or what I do. It's on them.
Right. Because it's not going to add fuel to whatever it is that they're looking to get from you.
Right.
Because they know Rocio's not going to go here with this, or she's not going to give in to
No, I'm
my
not.
fear of, that I'm projecting onto her.
Yeah.
She's not going to give in to the gossiping that's going on or whatever it may be.
Right.
So, Ruthie, does any of this kind of resonate with you at all?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think both of you have really great insight with how to conduct business and how to really just clean up your personal life as well. And it's true, all of it pours over, all of it's connected, especially with something like sales. It's, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with energy, you're dealing with yourself a lot of the time. And rejection is a part of sales, and rejection is definitely a part of life and the root of a lot of people's problems, mine included. I guess I cried. I'm a little unclear on why I cried in terms of not stuck up for myself, or if it was even worth me sticking up for. Like, my piece now is not the crying, but is feeling like I want to get even. I wish I could let that go. Well, that in turn fuels me to work even harder. And I remember this, I put this, I log it into my head, and I'm like, when I get big, whenever I'm put in a position where I can help others, I'm going to remember this moment and not treat someone else that same way.
That's really, really, really powerful. But it still leaves you with that feeling of wanting to get even. Is that right?
Right.
Whatever that means to you.
Outside Ruthie, and I'm not talking about like in a violent way or anything like that,
right.
but And I wish it was like, I don't know how to get rid of this feeling of vindictiveness that I also see when this happens in sales with other people, that are just mean and nasty. How do I get past that? Like, why? Is it okay to just let something like that go? Or do you believe people do need to be held accountable in some kind of way, though?
Rocio, what's your take on that?
To walk around.
I think you can tell yourself as much as you want that you're going to try and let it go. But I think really what you end up doing is lying to yourself, because what you end up really doing is you just end up throwing it onto your back with all the other crap, excuse my language, but with all the other crap that you're carrying around that you either are aware of or aren't aware of yet that you're carrying around. And a lot of it, and Jennifer just whispered it into my ear, but it's resentment. And again, it's tied back to that trigger, to whatever, her tone of voice and the things that she was saying to you triggered something from your past. And there's still a lot there. You still need to heal from that. And until you can learn to heal that, and really learn to heal that wound, it's going to keep coming up for you over and over and over again. And that stuff is just going to keep piling up and piling up. And when things don't go right in your business, when things don't go right, you're not meeting your quota, you're not hitting your numbers, that's all going to start to come up. And it's going to make the load so incredibly heavy that you're either going to fall into like a really bad depression, or,
the anxiety starts to increase.
Yes.
And then even when you have somebody who rejects you on just a really mild level, or maybe you just can't see eye to eye with someone, you're just going to, Rocio's going like this. She's saying you're going to explode, right?
Yes.
And you're going to just snap on somebody for the littlest thing, probably like how this person did to you.
Right.
Clearly, she's not addressing her things that are going on. Clearly, she's got an issue of pride even, maybe even fear, because fear actually is just masked by anger, that anger that's coming out and that was unleashing onto you. And the other thing is, too, you took this to a certain level personal, right? And how I would actually handle this situation is I would try to slow it down, have that conversation. If she's not open to having that conversation, it's on her, not on me, right? And so I would just say, okay, I wish you the best, and I would hang up. Would I then go back and tell that person's manager or boss if they're not the owner? Yeah, I've done that before. And not out of what I experienced, but out of the business that they're going to prevent themselves by coming into them if they're having to deal with this type of person all the time, right? And I've only had to do that like once or twice in my entire career. The other aspect of it, if this person is the owner of this company, or they're a little bit higher up, maybe you send a card to brighten up their day. Maybe you don't even sign it with your name. Maybe you do. Right? And you do the opposite of what you really deep down want to do. You want to slap the biatch, right? I mean, come on.
So you kill her with kindness.
You don't want me to send the card.
Okay. Well, a nice card.
You should address her as Sunshine.
Yes. Little Miss Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Right? Now, I'm not going to lie. When I've had to do the cold call and picking up the phone and cold calling somebody and they've hung up on me, I'm not going to lie. What did I needed to do something to help me get going to the next one. So I would wait a little bit and I'd call right back and then I'd hang up on them. I'm not advocating this, okay? But I'm saying I did it and it helped me move on. The whole point of it is, Ruthie, is don't get stuck on it, right? Don't let it ruin your entire day. Don't let it prevent you from connecting with that other person. And we talk a lot about this, there's a whole nother battle going on that we can't even see, right? And we're here to share our gifts and impact other people and make a difference in their lives. And for some reason, you're under huge attack here to prevent you from connecting with other people, especially when you're about to make a huge breakthrough in your life or something really powerful that's going to influence other people. Rocio is nodding her head. I think she's just got goosebumps. Can you relate to this, Rocio?
Oh, totally. Yes, it happens. It happens every time you're about to make some type, what is it? You always say, new level, new devil?
Yeah.
So every time you're about to reach another, pivotal point in your life, just everything and anything that could possibly keep you from reaching that next step, it's going to come up. It's going to come up.
So what advice would you give Ruthie to get through without sending, a piece of poop in the mail to this lady? Or,
You really,
you know.
yeah, you really have to. In this case, I think, you really have to look within, and you have to work on healing that wound or those wounds, because the next time this happens, because I promise you, it will happen again. You're just gonna be able to brush that right off your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it may irk you a little bit, but you know what? You probably won't go to your car and cry. And it'll always get better, and it'll always get easier. I mean, for me, I would fall whenever I felt some type of rejection. I'd want to just curl up in this fetal position, and I didn't want to live anymore, just because I had been rejected so many times, in so many different ways by so many different people. And then when I started to heal those old nasty wounds, things would come up, and now I'm at a point where maybe I'm a little off for like a day or two, but I bounce right back up.
It's not months or years.
Right.
Yeah. I've shared that too, where I'd been paralyzed, I'd been stuck for so long. And now it passes through in a few minutes. It may be no longer than a day, except when I had jet lag. That
Right.
hit me for
And-
a weekend, and it was a
Right.
little bit longer. But what I realized is my mind was playing all these things. My body was weak. My mind was weak. I was like bedridden. All these things were happening. But what was that solid thing that I could always turn to and I can go to? And it was because I was rejecting that in that moment. I was trying to handle this all myself. I was trying to be my own mini God and think that I can control everything. And let me tell you, your body will give out. These circumstances will keep on happening to finally show you, like, you know what? You need to lay that pride and put it aside. Release that resentment, heal those wounds, and then fill up with something that is so powerful that will never leave you and that loves you unconditionally.
And that, Ruthie, that's the real empowerment. That's that true empowerment that everyone is like desperately in search of.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. This goes beyond religion.
Right.
It's about your relationship spiritually, right?
Yeah. No, I get that, and I knew that's why. I knew when I was in my car, I had to cry just because I didn't want to cry in front of anyone else. Is why I went to my car. I'm not going to cry in front of these people, and I'm definitely not going to hear this. Let this lady hear me cry on the phone.
You mean you didn't want to take a selfie or a video of your tears and then send it to her?
No, it was more of a private thing. And my thing is, did I let it ruin my day? I mean, in my head, probably I was definitely sad and angry. But what did I do? I can't afford to sit in my car and cry. And I'm like, okay, back out there and hit it even harder. I hit it even harder as far as like the sales day goes, as far as like contacting people. And I reminded myself, whatever I did was enough to attract these other two investors, right? To actually sit down and have breakfast with me.
And you had great conversations with them. Is that what you're saying? That you had great conversations with these other people. But let's pause on something that you just said, right? You said that it made you work even harder. We end up going into that hustler mode, right? And we just really try to grind away. And let me tell you, that'll eventually wear on you as well.
I was just thinking, I just shook my head because it is. And Ruthie, for me, especially when I started working with Jennifer, she would tell me these things, and I would say, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But
Stubborn
and I'm
over
so
here.
incredibly stubborn. But it wasn't until I was in it where I'd be like, oh, this is what you were talking about. This is it. I get it because I hear you, and I feel that you kind of can start to wrap your brain around what we're saying a little bit, but then what Jennifer just pointed out, this is driving you to go out and hustle even more. It's going to weigh you down. It's going to weigh you down because I'm telling you, at some point, you're not going to reach, and I'm not because I'm wishing bad on you. I wish you all the success in the world. But what happens when you don't reach those numbers? Or when you aren't hitting your quotas, or when you are rejected again and you've already put in so much work? You're going to be sitting there, because I've been there, and I'm going to be like, what the heck, man? Because I've done this, I've done that, I've done my part.
So here's, I guess, what we're saying is that what's going to shift this for her? What would you advise is one of the first steps to Because I think when we shift something internally, right, and we address these wounds, we're not encountering the same situations, or maybe we encounter them, but they're not having the same impact
Right.
that they used to have.
That's what it is.
So
Right.
maybe they're always there, but they're not phasing us that same way,
Right.
right? They're not bringing us down. They're not, and not that there's anything wrong with going into your car to cry. I'm all for the
Me
tears
too.
and allowing those tears to flow and
You
not
have
build
to
up.
release
Let me
to anything that I have been more sure of in my entire life than where I am right now. And I'm such a crybaby because I cry all the time. So I'm all for tears, but this is leading you to something so much greater. And you may not be able to see the big picture, but I promise you it's like right there. So
Rocio, what are those tears that are popping into your eyes right now? What is that about? Can you describe to
why do I
me?
always cry?
This is a different tear in your eye. And I'm crying only in my gimpy eye right now. So I'm here with you.
Right.
Okay. So what is that about? What are you feeling right now?
I think because I have worked so incredibly hard my entire life to achieve this success. And I finally just surrendered, you know, and I stopped praying. I stopped praying and asking for my business to take off. And I just said, you know what, God, take this desire. I surrender. I don't want this desire anymore.
And what did that do for you then?
Oh my God, such an incredible weight was lifted. Such an incredible weight was lifted. And then I'm able to see things from such a different perspective. And really, I'm telling you, just a couple weeks ago, I was sitting in front of my computer, maybe even 2 weeks ago, and I'm sitting there and I'm working on this project and I'm looking at old notes and old journal entries. I mean, from like 2 years ago. And I'm like, if I would have known that it's all just like coming together and I'm exactly, it's so crazy where I'm supposed to be. And I've never been more sure of anything. So I'm telling you, it's right there. Keep going.
No, I thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I believe that too. I believe that the beauty is in the struggle as well. You know, you said it.
Oh,
If it
it
wasn't
is.
for all these other events that happened, it would not have led you to where you're at now.
Yeah.
And I believe that, and that's what keeps me pushing. And I hear you about that piece of, you know, hustling and burning out, because I feel like that's where I'm at right now.
Right.
But I guess a part of me is confused or maybe needs more clarification on the difference between having ambition and being proactive versus disengaging. And even in a sense, to me, disengaging means being less passionate about what you want to do. What's wrong with wanting something good that you know will help other people?
So your question
You know?
is, so can you state your question again?
Like, I mean, how do you gauge, like, is there such a thing as being too ambitious? You know, like, what's wrong with having drive? Because yes, God, I get it, will provide, but you have to do the work too. So how does one gain enough discernment to know when to pull back and surrender?
I think that's a great question, Ruthie. And how I look at it, and Ruthie, I'd like you to comment on this too, is that I thought I had to provide and do all this time, right? And so it put so much weight, so much pressure on me. It threw me off from my core essence. I think being in sales, we can tend to have a lot of that masculine energy, and we have both, that masculine, feminine. But I was way off, right? Where I had to be super assertive, super aggressive, be that hunter. And that's not who I am at my core. It's who I was programmed and taught to be by society, by family, by work, you know. And it's not, for me, sales is really about being of service, about showing up, being authentic, engaged, loving, spiritual, right? And if somebody doesn't want to work with me because of that, that's okay. That's all right. I'm okay with knowing that there's plenty of other people out there who do want to work with me, who aren't afraid of me sharing my faith walk or my testimony. Not that I'm here to convince, convert, or condemn anybody else, right? But I'm here to be me, and I'm here to tell them that they can be themselves. That's why I work with people of all different faith backgrounds, or all different, walks in their life, right? That's okay. But what I'm telling you is that when we can just surrender first, then I know what my mission is. I know what my purpose is. I know I'm here to serve first and foremost God. And how do I do that? Through the gifts that he has given me, through the people that he puts into alignment, who I'm supposed to serve, who I talk to. There's no coincidence about that. Let me tell you, I don't have these, this drama, these energy vampires, these nasty people pop into my life all the time. I mean, I used to think that was normal. I thought that's just a part of sales. No, it's not. It really isn't. The part that I thought was normal was because I thought I had to chase after every single piece of business. I thought I had to deal with every single type of person out there. But when I get really, really clear with who do I really want to work with, right, and be okay with losing this deal over here because I know I'm going to be provided for over here, then everything started to come through.
So for me, when I brought up surrendering, for me surrendering isn't I'm raising my little white flag and I'm
Giving in.
I'm giving in. For me, surrendering, and especially this last time when I said I surrender, take this desire, it was look. And I'd said it before, but in different ways. But this time it was like, okay, look. I'm not going to force things or try to make things happen anymore. I'm going to let them happen. I'm going to be open to letting things happen and to receiving them. So ambition is good, right? But what I think is you show up every day. What does showing up look like for you? For me, showing up was making sure that I had my outfit picked out, right? That I wasn't rushing at the last minute to pick out an outfit. Having my nails done. But it was those little things, having my notes, being prepared.
Going to bed on time and not staying up late and, partying or doing whatever so you can show up and be present.
Right. So doing all the things that you need to do to show up for the day and be like, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to take on whatever comes. And then little hints, little things, people, situations, opportunities will start, and I promise you they really will start to present themselves to you. And the more open you are, the more receptive you'll be to seeing them and to accept them. And now you are not making your path. It's hard to dig out your own path, but when there's already a path laid out for you, all you have to do is walk.
Yep.
All you have to do is walk.
And you're not walking alone, Ruthie.
No, you're not. And I'm telling you, so ambition is not bad, but you have to sometimes just start little. And again, surrendering is not, people think that surrendering is bad, that you're raising that little white flag and you're saying, hey, I'm done. Oh, no, I'm not done.
Yeah.
Right?
You're going to be even more empowered. You're going to have more resilience. You're not guarding yourself to the point where you're on the defense all the time and you're missing these opportunities like Rocio was saying, right, that are right in front of you.
Right.
The people that want to help you, the people that are there to connect you with other people, as opposed to chasing down, this little biatch and proving to her that she did you wrong.
Right.
Right? So maybe we'll send her a little glitter bomb box, where it's just filled with a lot of glitter. And she opens it up and there's sparkles everywhere.
She was like, it's just, I didn't understand like where the anger was coming from. That was mainly.
Wait, hold on a second, Ruthie. Hold on a second. Did you hear our sparkle idea? Are we gonna have to send one to you? Box. Yes, and just cover you in sparkles.
I wish I could.
And another thing,
I wish I could. I'd send a box of something else.
I know you would. That's why we're trying to get you to shift this.
And
I'm horrible.
And you know what? Another thing, sometimes I think it's really important, and it really helps me to see or to understand, or try to understand at least, that this person had nothing. Her reaction and the way she spoke to you, Ruthie, it had nothing to do with you.
She's hurting.
And it has, and I'm not trying to justify her actions because she was so in the wrong, but I feel bad. You really need to pray for her. You hear people say that all the time, but pray for her, because Lord only knows what she's going through. To speak to a stranger, because you still haven't come face to face with her, to speak to a stranger that nasty.
Yeah.
The issue
Well,
was
I know what
hers.
it was. She didn't think she thought I was insignificant. Like,
No.
because I can guarantee you, she didn't speak to those developers that I was sitting with that way.
Right.
In her eyes, I was not of importance. She thought I was probably pushing socks and DVDs. You
But
know,
regardless,
that's the way.
that's her character. That's her true
Yeah.
character.
And you don't want to
Well,
work.
that's her. That's on her.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, and you don't want to work or connect or have anything to do with somebody that's that nasty anyways. So really, she did you a favor, because she saved you from something that could have been even nastier had you guys connected.
Right.
You
But
know?
I think in this situation, Ruthie, it goes back to what it triggered for you. It was remembering something from the past, and we have to go back and we have to heal that. And so we're
Have
going to
to.
talk offline how we can get you connected to some of those resources. Let's stay plugged in, and please
Thank you.
continue to participate in the show. We love your
Yes.
support today. I know we're kind of winding down here. Any last minute words that you want to share with us before we wrap up?
No, thank you both. I really appreciate both of you sharing your stories with me and with all the viewers, and for allowing me to share mine. And yeah, you know what? I'll pray for her. And not a mean prayer. I'll pray for her. You break your legs. No. But I'll pray for her in a genuine way. But pray for me too. I'd appreciate
Of course,
it.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone, we're winding down here. Please feel free to, message me your questions, chime in for other shows. You can find us on YouTube at Sales from the Heart, as well as Planeta X. We'd love to hear from you. And that number again to text or call is 847-903-3983. Any last minute words, Rocio?
No, I don't know. I'm still processing.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was some deep stuff today.
Yeah,
but
it's
you
good.
know, I think need to also remember to make it a little bit light, to share with other people, so we don't
Yes.
pile it on ourselves. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next show. Bye.
Bye, everyone.